presentation. So we are happy and we are excited what you can show us about Sulawesi and wish you.
So thank you very much for nice introduction, Stefan. So my name is Jiří Patoka. I'm the researcher from the Czech Republic. But here I am as a member of NGO, which is called Sulawesi Keepers. We are focused on the current status of freshwater fauna and freshwater biota in Indonesia and especially in Sulawesi. Our team is here. Our head is Markéta Rejlková. Unfortunately, during some busy agenda, it was not possible to be here, so I'm the presenter. And we have also some Indonesian members, namely Suryagenta Akmal, who is my PhD student. So you can see the link to our website where many information about Sulawesian biota, including some articles and news and so on, are shared. At the beginning, simply about Indonesia. You can see the map of the Indonesia, and there are 3 biodiversity hotspots. Namely, at first, it is the largest island country on the globe, more than 17,000 islands, and many of them are special habitats for endemic species. There are also close to be 300 million people in Indonesia, so half of the Europe. The population is increasing rapidly, and therefore also the human activities are more risky for native biota than in some years before. And 3 biodiversity hotspots, as I mentioned: Sundaland, Wallacea, and Sahul, because the western part of New Guinea, which is from the Sahul hotspot, is also a territory of Indonesia. But switch your attention to Sulawesi. You consider the orange island Sulawesi, which is one of the 5 big islands in Indonesia: Sumatra, Java, Borneo, or you can say Kalimantan, and New Guinea, or you can say Papua. So the Sulawesi is a special one from the biodiversity of freshwater shrimps and snails. It is a part of Greater Sunda Islands. It is known as the native range for many endemic species of shrimps, crabs, snails, and also fishes. The majority of native species can be found in some lakes, freshwater lakes, like Lake Poso, or 3 lakes, Matano, Mahalona, and Tovuti, which are together called Malili Lake System. You can see some pictures from these lakes. Here is a map of the most important lakes on Sulawesi, and I recommend to your attention Poso Lake and the Malili Lakes here, where the majority of ornamental species occur or occurred in the past, and currently they are close to be extinct, as I will mention later. There are many environmental risks for Sulawesian biota. At first, invasive species. There are fish species and also some invertebrates like freshwater crayfish. The worst of them is obviously flowerhorn cichlid. It is spreading over the Indonesian territory and also over the Sulawesian lakes, and it is voracious predator. The fish is so successful invader, and this is bad news for many invertebrates in these lakes. And also invertebrates can be invasive. This one is Charax quadricarenatus. The common name is Australian red claw, or just red claw. It is popular ornamental crayfish, but also a successful invader. It is more than 20 centimeters long in the adult stage, so it is clear that this one can damage some small shrimps easily. And it is also spreading over the Indonesian territory, including Sulawesi. And there are also some other environmental risks, namely nickel mining, deforestation, intensive agriculture, and the construction of new dams, which completely attack the regime of hydrobiology. And these things are going in bad directions very quickly. Year by year, day by day, the situation is worse and worse. And this is our mission, to share the words about the Sulawesi, about the current status of Sulawesian biota. And we would like to improve the situation, to try to mitigate the risks, to discuss with local people, to discuss with decision makers, with Indonesian government. We are in touch with Indonesian universities, and we would like to do our best to mitigate the risks and to try to stop the extinction and try to save the species for future. On the other end of the line, we would like to support the hobby or private breeding and stocking and breeding of Sulawesian biota in aquariums. We would like to connect the people who are interested in to be managed, how to handle these animals, how to multiply them, how to save the species in our aquaria when the native biotope will be destroyed. So simply, Sulawesi is calling SOS. For example, some genus of small freshwater snails, Sulawesidrobia, which is endemic for Sulawesi. 100% of these snails are critically endangered by the IUCN. 16 out of 28 species of Tylomelania snails, which are so popular as ornamentals from Malili lake system, are critically endangered. And moreover, there are more than 28 species. Some of them are poorly known for scientists, formally undescribed, and these are also endangered for sure. And they can be extinct before we can improve our knowledge and we can describe the species. 1983 is the year when these two fishes were the last seen. So maybe they are extinct, maybe not, who knows, but it is clear that they are at least critically endangered as well. And 6 is the number of freshwater crabs in Sulawesi which are classified as endangered by the IUCN. What will follow? Who knows? We would like to try to help Sulawesian biota, because without some focus of researchers, of NGOs, of local communities and so on, the situation will be poor, and huge extinction of endemic biota can be expected in near future. About the ornamental trade with shrimps, or not only shrimps, but also snails and fishes. Sulawesi is here. The animals are usually transported by local collectors to some middleman who can transport these animals to the city of Makassar on the southern part of Sulawesi, and by plane from Makassar to Jakarta. Jakarta, currently the capital city of Indonesia, is the main hotspot for ornamental animals in Indonesia. Many of them, not only animals from Sulawesi, but also from other islands, are transported to Jakarta to some wholesaler company like John's Aqua and CV Maju and so on. There are plenty wholesalers in Jakarta who offer these animals to the rest of the world. These animals are transported by international pet trade to North America, to Europe, also to my country, the Czech Republic, which is one of the leaders on the market, and Germany as the main customer country, because the community of ornamental keepers in Germany is the biggest, as you know, in Europe. And also part of these animals are transported to Japan. What more? When I was in Indonesia for the first time a few years before, I was so surprised how well developed is the domestic pet trade. Many animals are traded directly in Indonesia, not only in the island of the native range, but especially in Java. Many animals are offered for sale directly on the streets. And many Indonesian people can take them to home, including marine animals like sharks and so on. You can buy some shark of this size and go with the shark in your bag to your home, to your aquarium. And it is cheap. And there is no necessity to heater in aquarium. You can stock them directly in outdoor tanks, for example. But the mortality is obviously very high because the knowledge of local people about the care is very poor, because the price is cheap. So it is easy to take other individual to your aquarium, and that's all. So all statistic evidences about the trade are focused export only, and there is no information about the domestic trade, about the volume of the domestic trade. And I guess that it will be surprisingly high, maybe higher than the export. And no information was published about this, but the risks for native biota are the most probably underestimated by the statistic. So this is also our mission to share the words about the real risks for native biota, which is the most probably much higher than we expected before. And now about this year field trip, which was done a few days before, in September 2022. Our head, Markéta Rilková from the Czech Republic, together with Martin Hausknecht from Slovakia and Christian Rausch from Germany, and plenty Indonesian colleagues were in Sulawesi. They visited several lakes, especially Poso and the Malili Lake system, to take the pictures of the current status of the native biota and also invasive biota, to take some samples of water for further analysis, and so on. And it is my great pleasure to present here our pictures and the preliminary results. Most of them will be published also as scientific paper in near future. And I would like to show you the current status of Sulawesian biota and lakes. The first one is the Poso Lake. Poso Lake is isolated from the Malili Lake system. The three lakes in the Malili Lake system are connected by waterway, by some stream, and therefore some spreading of invasive species in this system is easy. Poso Lake is isolated, but also impacted by human activities intensively. You can see the picture of deforested hill, which is done because people from the local community would like to expand their agriculture, and therefore the forest is an obstacle, so it must be eliminated at first. Deforestation is risky due to erosion of the soil, which is by rain easily transported downhill to the lake. And in the lake, which normal substrate is gravel, so currently you can see the muddy bottom, which is spreading over the lakes, not only in Poso but also in other lakes. Another picture of deforested hill. You can see that the hill is on the bank of the lake, so the soil, the sediment can be transported to the water easily. Indonesia is a country when rainy season means heavy rainy season, but also in the dry season. So in some parts, and the rain is common every day. So rain can be vector of the soil, which is transported from the hill to the lakes. And the agriculture in the vicinity of the lake, it means the culture of rice, mainly. The paddy fields are everywhere. On the other hand, there is one maybe controversial hope for future. New dam was built in this big lake, and the hydrology, the regime of the water was completely modified. And currently, the harvesting or the culture of the rice is not so easy because the water level do not fluctuate and is the same for the whole year. So the culture of the rice is in danger, and the local people are not satisfied with this situation. And most of them do not care about the biodiversity of some endemic species in the lake, because there are some tiny animals who cares, but they would like to culture the rice. And the attention of the local people on the lake as the whole water body is increased. So this is maybe good news for us, because they are open for the discussion. They would like to obtain some information about the lake and about things which are changing rapidly. And we found there are some people who would like to focus also on the biota. That their thinking is changing. So maybe good news for us. The dam is terrible news for the native animals. But then this changing in minds of local people can be important for future. But we have to communicate with them. We have to explain why these animals are important, and why do not release and share and spread non-native species. Where are the risks, and why the healthy ecosystem is important for them, because they would like to have the healthy lake. And currently the situation is poor. So this is our mission. This is the goal of one of the goals of our field trips, to start the communication with the local community. And we were successful. I will show you later. About the Poso. On the first side, it's like, I don't know, Caribbean Sea on the first side, but it is freshwater, of course. It is full of light, full of life. The Poso Lake is, even if there are plenty non-native species in the lake, so the ecosystem currently looks to be not so impacted, to be healthy. So there is a hope how to save the animals there. I hope that there is a hope. For our imagination, this is the underwater ecosystem of the Poso Lake. You can see, or maybe not, but there are some small black dots. These are native fishes. And you can see the bottom, which is not so muddy in comparison with some lakes in the Malili Lake system. So the Poso Lake on the first side is nice. Also crabs, like this guy, are walking freely, not hiding. Also some small individuals, not only big and robust and brave crabs, but all crabs are walking on the surface. And also snails like Tylomelania and so on. You can see plenty black shells on this picture. They are everywhere. Poso looks like the Eden for freshwater snails. The population of Celetaia persupta is dense, and it is fine. The current status is looks to be promising for future. On the other hand, some intensive capture exists in Poso. On the picture on the left side, you can see some rope, which is, here is some floater, and on the opposite side is a trap, which is used for capture of Telomelania sp orange. This one is very popular as ornamental snail, and it is an exception in Sulawesian snails, which are kept in aquaria because it is not from the shallow waters. It is from the depth of 30 meters. So this is an exception. And I mean, there's a frog. And the populations of freshwater snails seems to be healthy. You can see on the two pictures on the right side that the population of Telomelanias and other snails are dense because the density is high, because these specimens, these individuals were captured from very limited area, the bottom area, and many individuals were found, including young individuals, small snails. It is very important. You will see why later in this presentation. Also, some species or some taxa of freshwater snails in Poso Lake are not exploited as ornamentals. Many of them are formally, the most probably formally undescribed and or poorly known, and are not subjected by ornamental trade currently. Maybe in future the situation will be changed because local people know that these animals can be valuable for them as ornamentals for future. But currently these are out of the main interest of the local collectors. So promising for the science, but we have no information about their population status, about the monitoring is impossible because they have no scientific names. So the first step is the formal description. The same situation is also in other invertebrates on the market, not only from Sulawesi. For example, some Geosesarma crabs, the vampire crabs, which are imported in huge quantities, and many of them are formally undescribed. For example, I'm in discussion with Professor Peter Ngo from Singapore, who is the leader of crayfish taxonomy crab taxonomy on the world, and so he agreed that many of these crabs are unknown for the science, but their formal description is impossible because the type locality is missing. Without the type locality, we are not able to publish the scientific description. But in the Poso Lake, we know the type locality. It is here. It is in Poso Lake. So just some focus of scientists on these animals is what we need. I hope that the communication also with our German colleague Thomas von Rinteland and some other scientists in this regard will be promising and beneficial for Sulawesian biota, because the collection of new descriptions will be published as soon as possible, I guess, and after that the monitoring of these animals in the wild can follow. But not only poorly known species are there. This one, Telomelania torradiarum, is popular for ornamental trade, and it was also recorded in the Poso Lake in huge quantities. Poso is also type locality for endemic Meratesta celebensis, another freshwater snail. You can see the specimen or the individual here. It is a unique freshwater snail because its shell is very robust and heavy. It looks like marine snail because salty water is better for moving if you have so robust shell. But this one has it. Why? Nobody knows. So it is also very interesting, not only for ornamental keeping, but also for scientists. And this species is evaluated to be vulnerable by the IUCN. Not only snails were recorded, shrimps as well. I'm not able to distinguish exactly the names on the picture on the upper side of this slide, but all of these are native. And one identified species is Carolina encifera on the picture, or the two pictures on the down. And these are non-native for sure. Flowerhorn and Melanochromis auratus from the Malawi Lake. So these fishes are present in the Poso Lake. Especially Melanochromis is widespread in the lake, but there is no recorded negative impact, significant negative impact on native populations of snails, shrimps, and fishes, and so on. But currently, the situation can be switched to be worse and worse easily, and without some management, I can predict the bad scenario for Poso Lake. So what will follow in future, who knows? Without the monitoring, without the focus on the Poso Lake, the probability that the situation will be bad, will be poor, is very high. So I guess that this, on the first side, healthy ecosystem is important to be well managed, because the biological invasions of non-native species are at the starting point, I guess. So the situation can be switched to good end, but we need intensive effort to do this. It is not easy, and we have to communicate with the local people intensively. So here are lake guardians. Its name is Mosintubu. It's a group of elders from the villages in vicinity of the Poso Lake, who are interested in the lake organism. Like they say, person. The lake is something like person for them, and the person is not working as they would like to be, because some things are changing, like the dam construction and so on. So they are focused not only to the biodiversity conservation, but on the whole lake conservation, including the biota. But their knowledge is not so good. It has to be improved, and therefore we offered them some materials, some information, not only in English but also in Bahasa Indonesia, because it is important to communicate with the local community in their local language for sure. And the communication was successful, and there was some deal in future activities. Moreover, they have some very small museum in the center of Mosintubu, and there are some aquaria where are some endemic species inside, but their knowledge about the care is very limited. So it has to be improved. On the other hand, this is a very promising starting point about spreading the knowledge about related risks among local people, because they would like to communicate with their elders and with Mosintubu much more than with us. We are some strange guys from the Europe with long hairs and so on. Who cares about our wars? But the elders of the community are important. So this was so perfect and so promising for future to start the communication with them. It was one of the outputs of the field trip, which was very successful. And back to the export line. This is facility of middleman and also the local collector in Tobuti Lake. one of the lakes from the Malili system. And currently, there were some tanks were full of Tulomelania. But these snails are not from Tovuti. All of them are from Poso Lake. So local collectors from Poso catch these snails and transport them to Tovuti Lake, to another lake. And the middlemen from Tovuti offer the animals to Makassar. So when some animals died, the middleman, how to say, throw the shells out from his house and bye-bye. But what will follow when the snail is not dead? So it can survive, maybe, who knows? And by this way, some spreading of endemic fauna from Poso Lake can be risky for Tovuti Lake. And there are many examples as this one. And it is due to poor knowledge of local people, of course, because they see that the snail is valuable and that snail is not valuable for sure. So, and then they do not care about possible risks and so on. So the trader, the middleman, is keen to communicate with us also, and his motivation is not to damage the nature, damage the wildlife. He would like to make the business, but when he will obtain some information about the risk and so on, it is possible to manage his stocks correctly. So it is also good news for us that he is keen to communicate. For example, in my country, not all traders are keen to communicate with academics, because everybody cares about some possible penalties and so on, and they're afraid and are not keen to communicate. This guy was very nice, and I hope that the communication with the elders and the trader like this one can be crucial for mitigation of the risks in Sulawesi. This is a typical picture from Tovuti Lake. You can see the boat which is used for shrimp collections, and this is the vicinity of the house of the collector. Garbage is everywhere. Plastic garbage is not recycled, of course, and it is the water can clean everything. So that's all. It's risky for the limited ecosystem of the lake for sure, but the situation in Indonesia is common like this. On the other hand, the garbage is not so intensive, and the pictures from so no shells are visible. So sorry, it was different picture. The ecosystem of Tovuti Lake seems to be healthy as well, similarly as in the Poso Lake. You can see the pictures which are on the first side. The ecosystem is in good quality. This picture is also perfect. This is the native environment, not modified. And also some native fish here, the group of fishes, and it is fine. On the other hand, the flower horns are also present in the lake. The Tovuti Lake, from the three lakes which are in the Malili system, the Tovuti is downstream from the other two, and it is not impacted by invasive species intensively in comparison with the other two lakes which are upstream. The flower horns are currently shy, not so curious, not so brave, hiding and not dance. It is good news for the Tovuti Lake, but the situation can be changed in future quickly when the density of these fishes will increase. I will show you pictures from other lakes, and you can compare the situation. Also in Tovuti, similarly as in Poso, the crabs can walk freely. It is not necessary to hide in the shelter under rocks and so on. and also some small individuals can walk freely because the flower horns are not so abundant. Native snails like Tylomelania are also dense, and you can see many shells on this picture. Yeah, including young individuals or maybe some small species, because not all species of the native snails are of big size. So the population seems to be healthy because all of these stages are present. Moreover, Sulawesi drobia is present in Tobuti Lake. What a difference to lakes which are impacted hardly by invasive species, because Sulawesi drobia in other lakes in this system are the most probably extinct, because non-native fishes like flowerhorn ate them intensively, prey them, and there were no records. But in Tobuti Lake, yes, there are Sulawesi drobia. And you can see 3 individuals on this picture climbing on Tylomelania, and they are tiny, so not popular as ornamentals for sure, and nobody cares about these tiny snails. But they are part of the native biota, so we have to focus on this genus as well. Also, native shrimps were found in huge quantities, and the population looks to be healthy, and also pelagic shrimps are present, not only benthic but also pelagic. So it was nice to see them in the wild, and it is relatively easy to catch them because they are not hiding, and the pelagic shrimps are present. The pelagic shrimp is Caridina lanceolata, and these are poorly visible in this part, but at the end of the presentation I will show you video where these shrimps are in huge quantities in the water column. It was so surprising for me that the density of this population is so high. It looks like Eden. It was really surprising for me. But yeah, so keeping in our minds that the invasive species of fish can easily switch the situation to be poor. Another example of freshwater shrimp in Tobuti Lake is Caridina striata. This one. And also Caridina voltereke. This one is hiding in the rock area, but not hiding under the rocks, just searching around, and it is visible. Here is the bigger picture of this shrimp, and it was also the big difference in habits and in behavior of these animals in comparison with the population of shrimps in lakes which are invaded by a huge population of flowerhorns and so on, because all shrimps in the invaded lakes are in the shelters, and you have to switch the rock, and you can find the shrimps there. But no one is walking freely on the surface. So big difference in this behavior. But Caridina voltereke in the Tobuti Lake was it has not ever the invasive fish and so on, and it is possible to take some pictures, and you can see some individuals in the rock area. So Tobuti Lake is over. Just one picture from the smallest lake in the system, Mahalona Lake. Here is some for my undescribed snail. Also in this small lake, many endemic species occur. But there was some time pressure and not easy to enter the lake, and therefore the expedition pardon, I ate my words. It was necessary to go to the Matano Lake because it was the most important most important point in this field trip, because the Matano Lake is the worst one, with many invasive species in huge quantities, and I would like to switch your attention to the Matano now, to compare the current situation with the previous lakes which I presented before. On the first side, Matano Lake seems to be fine. It's some freshwater lake in Sulawesi with some fishermen settlement on the banks and so on. The situation is similar. But the name of the town here is Sorowako. Sorowako is the mining town. The nickel is harvested here in huge quantities. It is very rich deposit of nickel and important place for Indonesia. But the environment is completely disturbed, and there are many problems connected with the mining activity, because the deforestation is just the part, but also the water pollution, some sediment and maybe some liquids and so on, some pollutants are transported to the water, and the quality of the water and quality of the ecosystem is changing rapidly. And no one cares, because the nickel mining is valuable for the local community. Everybody are happy that the nickel is there, and it is high risk for the native biota and native ecosystem as well. On the other hand, you can see some labels on the bank which say, do not release your garbage to the water. But the reality is this. So the garbage is also everywhere, mainly plastic, because the local communities of Sulawesian people or Indonesian people in general do not think about the management of garbage, because in the past they have some garbage from the plants and so on, some organic material, which was not so risky as plastic, of course. But for our imagination, if you will go through the street and you would like to drink some sugar cane is the correct word, I guess. So you will obtain some drink like this size in plastic jar with the plastic cover, with the plastic tube, and plastic sack. So we have four pieces of garbage and this size of drink. So the garbage is overproduced, and it is not possible for the local community to manage the garbage correctly. So this is the result, and you can see the similar situation over the territory of Indonesia, or maybe over the territory of Southeastern Asia in general, maybe with the exception of Singapore, I guess, because I guess that they will change their thinking about this issue in future. But in the meantime, many species will be in high risk and maybe extinct for future. And I would like to do my best to change this situation and to try to help the Indonesian biota to survive. Without these activities, so, and not only mine, of course, but in general, so the Indonesian biota will be in huge risk for future. In Matano Lake, there is one crab species which is endemic. Do you know the name? I'm sure that you know this crab. It is spotted. It's Paratylphusa pantherina, the crab, this crab. This one is popular as ornamental, and I'm sure that it is also present in the German market in huge quantities. All of these crabs are from this lake only. Matano Lake is the type locality for Paratylphusa pantherina. You can see the statue, which is for tourists on the bank of the lake, and it is for the local community, it is like iconic animal. but it is in high risk. So I'm so disappointed if I see Paratophusa pantherina which is traded in Europe in huge quantities and nobody knows, or not nobody, but many hobbyists have poor knowledge about the correct care, about the life requirements of this crab, and many of them, which are only wild captured, died soon after the trade because the keeper has no knowledge about the correct care. So this crab is just in this disturbed lake, and I can predict, or maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, but I can predict that this species will be lacking on the market in near future because their population is rapidly declined due to flower horns. I have also one video about flower horn activity and about Paratophusa pantherina. I will show you at the end of this presentation. So, what is the hope for this species? In Matano Lake, maybe no hope. So, therefore, it is important to care them and to stock them, to multiply them in home aquaria. This crab is completely freshwater. So there are no planktonic larvae in the sea, something like this. The larval development is completely in the egg, inside in the egg, and therefore you will obtain juvenile crabs when hatching. So this is good news for the species because we are able to multiply them in the captivity, and we can save the crab for future, hopefully. But the management of this breeding can be much beneficial. So it is also our mission to connect the people who are interested in these animals, not only this crab, but other Sulawesian biota, to share the information, to share the knowledge, to share the animals and so on, to help them to survive for future. The Matano Lake is also full of mud, and there are some populations of native animals, but declining, rapidly declining. So the future of this lake is probably poor. Here is a picture where, for example, in Poso, this picture will be full of healthy snails. But in Matano, there are just empty shells. Many of endemic snails are probably close to be extinct in the wild, or extinct in general. And so it's bad news. And flower horns are everywhere, in huge populations, in huge densities. And they are so brave, not hiding, not shy as in previous lakes, but when you swim in the lake, so they are curious and looking what you are doing, and when you switch the stone, so they are coming to the hole and try to catch everywhere what is hiding there. So this is a bad news for the biota in Matano Lake. Eden, possible Eden, but empty Eden in comparison with the Poso Lake and Tovuti. So where are the animals? There are no native animals, or just the rest of the populations. And the Matano is upstream from Mahalona and upstream from Tovuti. So the invasive species, because Matano was the first lake where flower horns were released. So these fishes and other invasive species as well can migrate by the water connection from the Matano Lake to Mahalona and from Mahalona to Tovuti. So the Tovuti is healthy currently, but what will follow after a few years, who knows? So the situation can be very similar to the Matano Lake. On the first side, the habitat is like a coral reef, but altered. So algae are everywhere. The mud is everywhere. This is not healthy ecosystem, not healthy habitat for the native animals. And moreover, the dark spots here are flower horns. No native fishes as in comparison with the previous lakes. So these are flower horns. Matano Lake is important ecosystem with many popular ornamental endemics like Caridina denerli. This is Caridina denerli, which was recorded in the lake, fortunately. But the densities of these animals are also declining. So due to human activities, due to invasive species, the future of this species is also not clear. And we can try to do our best in the safe breedings in our aquaria. There are some shrimps which were recorded. It is good news, but all of these are the most probably declining in the densities and in abundance, and the future depends on the management. But I guess that Matano is close to be lost because the invasive species are so abundant there. But we can try to save the other lakes maybe. And in case of the Matano species, we would like to do our best in the breeding in captivity, because maybe in future, due to some new approach, some new method, we can try to kill the invasive species in the lake. The lake system is fine for some eradication approach, even if it is not so easy, but much more effective than in comparison with some streams. But it means some toxic addition in the water or something like this, some drastic eradicating method. And we have to be sure that we have as many native species in our aquaria as we can to try to release them back to the Matano Lake after the eradication. It is like science fiction for now, because we have no effective method which can be applied on the Matano Lake. But maybe in future somebody will bring some new insight and new method, and we can try to do it. But if we will not manage the breedings of endemic species from the Matano Lake in the captivity, there will be nothing to be released back. So this is also our mission to spread the words like this. And how is the snails? There are some Telomelania, but no young individual. All of them are most probably preyed by flower horns, and there are some small snails like this tiara, but nobody knows if the tiara is native or not. Some locals said that this small snail was present in the Matano Lake in the past, but just in some soft bottom, some muddy bottom in the small part of the lake. Currently, the mud is everywhere, and this snail is spreading over in huge quantities. So, is it native? Non-native? Who knows? But what is obvious, small, young Telomelania is lacking. This is bad news for the population of native Telomelania for sure, because the collapse of this species is clear. It's clear, it's near, close. How is the crabs? There are some native crabs still alive in the Matano Lake, but just only big crabs, robust crabs, can walk freely. There were no juveniles, no subadults which are walking, no records. So it is the most probably also due to the behavior and foraging activity of the invasive fishes. Syntripsa matanensis is very nice crab, but the future of this species is also uncertain. So, the conclusion of Matano Lake: full of mud, full of algae, full of flowerhorns and other invasive species. So the future is not so promising in the Matano Lake, and the future is not so promising also in other Malili lakes like Mahalona and Tovuti. During the field trip, also streams were monitored and surveyed, and various taxa of invertebrates and also fishes were recorded. So just for your information, here are some pictures of these animals. The outputs are shared with the scientific community, and we would like to cooperate on the identification and some monitoring of the population status, because it is clear that not only lakes are impacted by human activities, streams as well. And there are plenty species which are poorly known, maybe formally undescribed as well. And so this is next step, to focus on all water bodies on Sulawesi, not only lakes. What can be one of the most important outputs from the field trip, beside the communication with local communities and so on, is the measurements of water parameters. It is crucial for safe breedings of these animals in captivity. We have plenty data. These will be analyzed and published as soon as possible in some focused article in scientific journal, and we would like to share the findings with the community, with everybody who will be interested in. If you would like to be in touch with us, you can do it via our website and so on. I will share the possibilities at the end of the presentation. So the water measurement was done. Sometimes it was a little bit funny. You can see here our colleague Martin, who would like to try to obtain the samples, and some local guy came to the stream and released some wastewater and so on. So these data are not able to be analyzed, and this is not so fine. But this is just for your information, how the wastewater and washing of everything and so on is done in not only in Sulawesi, in Indonesia in general. So the wastewater is released directly in the stream, lake, and so on. And so it is also risky for native biota for sure, but not so risky as invasive species. And maybe just one note about the samplings. It is not easy to go to Indonesia as researcher or some interested person to take the samples to your backpack and run away from Indonesia to Europe to analyze everything and so on, because there are some legislative regulations and limits in Indonesia which have to be followed. We would like to make the things legally. Because when not, so Indonesian government will contact you when you will publish the outputs. It's my personal experience. When I was for the first time in Indonesia, so our knowledge about our requirements was a little bit limited. And we had one Indonesian colleague in our team, and we thought that it's enough for the legal publication activity, and we can share the information in scientific papers and so on. So that was wrong. You have to fill many documents to obtain the scientific permit and so on to get the samples from Indonesia to Europe. It is possible, but not easy. On the other hand, in Indonesia, there are plenty universities which are full of staff who is keen to cooperate, and we have contacts in Bogor Agricultural University, which is the top one university in Indonesia, and other universities, including universities in Sulawesi. And this is the way how we can go through the legislative regulations, and we can take the samples, we can make the analysis, maybe also directly in Indonesia. And this is our way. No black market with the samples and so on. And the voucher specimens are deposited in Bogor Zoology Museum in Java, which is mandatory. In past, many of Indonesian animals, including crustaceans and so on, were transported from Indonesia to the Netherlands and deposited in Dutch Museum in Leiden. And there are huge collections of holotypes, for example. It is so interesting to visit the collections. But currently, all type specimens or voucher specimens have to be deposited in the Bogor Zoology Museum. So this is also our way. We are in the communication with Dr. Daisy Bovor, who is the curator of crustaceans and aquatic invertebrates in general in this museum, and the type material is deposited there. So, just for explanation, and now I have two videos. This one is from the Lake Tobuti, and you can see the pelagic shrimps, which are in huge quantities. Just watching the human, and so this is the native environment in good quality. And you can imagine the situation in other lakes, which was the most probably very similar to this in the past. But currently, especially in Matano Lake, there are no pelagic shrimps. The lake is empty. So the density is awesome. And for comparison, here is Paratelphusa pantherina from the Matano Lake, which was walking and not hiding. It was bad idea. We will see flower horns and how they approach the native species. So, this is the future for matano crabs and not only crabs. And there are no pelagic shrimps, and no freely walking crabs, no small snails, no small endemic fishes. So, pardon? No. How to change the situation? If somebody would like to help our activities in Sulawesi, or not only in Sulawesi, okay, so we would like to ask your support of on-site activities, but not only on-site activities. Or to also join our conservation breeding program, which is at the starting point currently, because our NGO, the Sulawesi Keepers, was established in the previous year. So we would like to improve our activities and so on in future, and therefore it is crucial to cooperate with as many people who are interested in as we can. You can share your expertise. If you have some expertise, some experience with keeping and care of Sulawesian shrimps, fish, snails, crabs, and so on, so it would be beneficial for the correct management, and share the information with other people. Give your talent. I mean to make some pictures of the animals and some records of behavior and so on. It can be also important. Work in the field, of course. So this is a special focus on Indonesian counterparts and our colleagues in Indonesia, because many researchers or many tourists or hobbyists can visit the island of Sulawesi, not only Sulawesi, also some other Indonesian islands. And any experience from the field can be beneficial, because we have just limited time, and these records were done during 18 days only. But many places were not visited, not surveyed, and it is not easy to go there to visit all water bodies in Sulawesi. So if you have some idea to go there for any reasons, pictures from the localities and some reports and so on all information can be very important and much appreciated. Spread the word about the current situation in Sulawesi. It is important, because many of these species are on the market, but very limited number of persons are familiar with the current situation. And keep in touch. We would like to be in touch with all of you and other stakeholders who would like to cooperate, who would like to try to help to change the situation. We have also some partners, Ostrava Zoological Garden and some others, and you can see that your logo is here. So it is my great pleasure to say that the cooperation is possible. Stefan, do you agree? So we are open for the discussion. We are open for the communication, for sharing our data, our records, and we hope that this can be beneficial for Sulawesian biota in general. Thank you for your attention.